Greetings, mentor teacher training. This is going to cover the major assessments of the course and the certification process. So, the course does cover a lot of material regarding how to mentor, how to coach. Many times in the midst of navigating the course and the materials, it could be easy to sometimes forget, like, okay, what am I doing, what part am I on for this? So I feel like that this video and this slide deck is going to streamline for you exactly what you're doing and what you need to be focusing on is regarding the major assessments. And of course, I'll talk about the certification process at the end. I am Dr. Lori Benoit, and I am the instructor of the course. So let's go ahead and jump in. Let's talk about the major assessments really quickly. We have, let's see, I don't know if that's shown on video or not, but I'm going to move it. It's my little dashboard. We have two mentor teacher portfolios: mentoring to improve classroom management and mentoring to improve content instruction. They are two different portfolios. They are formatted identically, the same way. They're identical, but they are, one focuses on classroom management and the other focuses on content instruction. So the instructional aspects, the teaching aspects of instruction. So then the second portion are the field experience hours, or I should say the third major assessment, or the field experience hours. 24 hours are required. The 25 hours are fully embedded in what you do in the portfolios. So we're not asking you to do something different. They're embedded in the activities. You just have to document what you're doing. That's why the activities in the portfolio should actually align with what you submit for your field hours at the end of the course. Um, you know, Typically people actually have more things on their field experience hours than what are even required of the portfolio. But those things should align. If you look on the right over here, I just put a screenshot of the Canvas site. It is a reminder that really and truly everything you need is there. I'm going to actually, I'm going to take just a moment and go to the Canvas site just so that you can get a feel for the layout of it. Of course, our home button over here, the home one, we've got your syllabus, we've got our course calendar, and then I also have, there are videos about how to keep track of the field logs. While this is an asynchronous course, which means that everything's here on Canvas for you, you should be able to navigate it. It's not at your own pace. There are deadlines and due dates, which you'll see over here in the right. However, a weekly optional Zoom is provided. It might not be this exact time, depending on what semester you view this. Same thing for these dates. These dates might be different depending on what semester you view this video, but the Zoom is very helpful. People say that they like it. It is not recorded. The Zoom is not recorded. However, every single week, I already have embedded a recording for you. So it's right here. It's going to be in the overview of the course. Every single week, you've got a video that's going to be linked for you. You've got, let me see, I'll go to module 2. And there's going to be a video linked for you. And it walks you through what you're doing that week. Greetings and welcome to. Okay, so you've got one of those. You also have the written version of what you're doing that week. And then at the bottom, you're going to have your assignment for that week, what you're supposed to be submitting, turning in, etc. Then in addition, you have resources every single week. You're going to have, in addition to clicking on the overview and the overview video kind of walks you through what you're doing. You're going to have a lecture video, which kind of unfolds the skills, your personal coaching slash mentoring skills that you need to be refining and working on. You're going to have documents and resources that are provided to support you. And then at the bottom, you're always going to have the assignment that you need to be working on for that week. Okay, so let me kind of just show you the way that's all set up. All right, so again, over here at the top is our home, some of the major things that you're going to need. And then every week you've got, it's laid out the same way, you know, what you're working on. All right, one other thing I want to show you while we're here, and I'll probably come back and refer to it again, is the course calendar. Again, ignore this if you're watching this in a semester that's different than what the dates correlate. But the way that the course is laid out is the first portion of it, so weeks 1 through module 7, week 7, which is the kind of pink color here, that is all pertaining to classroom management portfolio. So week 1 is just kind of an introduction, but then after that, you jump straight into developing that first portfolio. When we switch over to the blue, you can see that we're switching to the second portfolio. And of course, there's 7 weeks for that. And then the final module is where you wrap everything up and you put your field hours. Okay. All right, let's go back to our slide deck. And now we're going to talk about, now that we've gotten a little overview of, here are your major assessments, the 2 portfolios, the field experience hours, and I reviewed the Canvas setup for you. The next piece that is critical is you have to make sure you have a mentee. The class itself is mentor teacher training. It's all applied. In order to prove that you can be a mentor, you have to have someone to work with to do it. So you must have an approved mentee within the first week of class. If you don't have a mentee within the second week of class, you're already behind. I'm not saying you can't catch up, but I'm saying it's challenging. Ask your school's mentor lead and or an administrator for assistance in finding someone. The ideal criteria should either be an MSU resident. So if you have access to a McNeese resident, either maybe on your hall or maybe you're currently hosting one, that will work. However, if you don't have access to a McNeese resident, or it's just not convenient, maybe the resident already has perhaps the host teacher and maybe already has someone else who's working on this class. That's probably enough. They really don't need more than that. It kind of crowds the residents. Look on your campus. You're looking for a teacher with 0 to 3 years of experience. 0 to 3 years of experience. They can be certified or uncertified. That's typically not difficult to find. However, on some campuses, it may be a little difficult to find. Ideally, we would like them to be on your campus because you need to be able to spend time with them and it needs to be as convenient as possible. If you exhaust these 3 and you still cannot find someone, you need to go to your mentor lead or your administrator and say, please help me think on our campus. Is there someone who's recently transferred from another district? Maybe they've been teaching for 5 or 6 years, but they're new to the district. That's not ideal, but it would work, okay? Because in that case, it would be a wonderful way to develop a relationship with someone new to the school, all right? If you go to your mentor, you go to your mentor lead, you go to your administrator, and there really is no one on your campus, then we may have to look at someone at another school that's near you. Not ideal, but it does happen from time to time. You will build a relationship with, observe, evaluate, and coach during the entire semester. You actually do your 2 portfolios based on these mentees' performances and their growth, their performance and their growth. You should continue to mentor after the course is over. That's how you're demonstrating that continued mentorship and leadership that we're wanting to foster, through the course and your opportunity to refine these skills. Ultimately, we would love for you to host our resident and host our practicum students in the field. That's what we're also wanting to prepare you for with the course. All right, so now let's talk about the first portfolio, mentoring to improve classroom management. 7 weeks of the course are allotted to helping you develop this portfolio. It is a 4-part portfolio. It assesses your ability to, number one, oh, it says assess, and I'm so sorry, it should say analyze. I'm going to change that right now. Actually, it's called analyze. That's the first part of, there we go. It's the first part of the portfolio it's called the analyze part. This is where you actually go in, you observe, just like imagine a pop cycle that's going on right now that you go through. You sit in, you observe at least one formal evaluation. You could do 2. I don't recommend doing too much more than that though. It's just not necessary. So observe and evaluate using a rubric. You must use the LER or the LAER rubric. And I'll explain that in a moment. But you have to have a rubric because that's the language that we use to collect evidence. So you're going to observe and evaluate. You're only going to be observing and evaluating them, though, on the classroom management pieces of the rubric. Okay, so let me go one slide forward and show you. This is what we're talking about. On the Canvas site, I've provided you with both of these full rubrics, but for our purposes here, we're just going to look at like the table of contents of the indicators of each of them. The top left is the LAER rubric, and that's the Louisiana Aspiring Educator rubric. This would be the one that you would use if you have a resident. The Louisiana Educator rubric is the one that you would use if you have an experienced teacher. I personally recommend that you use the LAER even if you have an experienced teacher. And the reason for that is ultimately we would like for you to host our residents. There's a stipend associated with that, and it's really what we're kind of training for. So we would love to see you use the LAER rubric, whether you have a resident or an experienced teacher. However, you might want to use the LER rubric for an experienced teacher. Number one, it might be the one that you're more familiar with right now. Number 2, your school might want you to use that one if you have an experienced teacher. So there might be some reasons. If you have a resident, though, you must use the LAER rubric, okay? Because they're not ready for the LER rubric, and it's an unfair situation for them. So in the LAER rubric, looking at classroom management, please notice that what we're talking about here has to do with indicator 10, environment, indicator 11, managing behavior. The engaging students portion of it is really, that's instructional. That's an instructional. So it's really going to be 10, and it's going to be the managing behavior portion of number 11. You might be able to pull in instructional plans, maybe, possibly, but honestly, we're really talking about number 10 and number 11, managing behavior. When we look at the LER rubric for classroom management, we're really looking at the domain of environment, and we're looking at indicators number 1 under environment, which is expectations, 2, which is managing behavior, 3, which is environment, and 4, which is respectful conditions. Those are the ones that we're really focusing on for classroom management. Okay, so let me go back. So now you go in, you observe, you evaluate them. You're only looking at those specific areas of the rubric that, like we just talked about, that pertain to classroom management. Don't talk about lesson structure and pacing and those things, not for classroom management. Okay, So that helps you narrow in on just one part of the rubric. You develop one part of the rubric that is their area of refinement. The second part of the portfolio is the develop portion. So based on your evaluation and knowledge of resources, you develop a coaching plan. You have to use the coaching plan template. It's on Canvas under the develop module, and you have to use it. It provides the coaching plan template forces you to provide a SMART goal, provide resources, provide a timeline and strategies that promote improvement. The third part of the portfolio is called the implement part. You put the coaching plan in action with that mentee. Have a conference, you review it with them, and then you're documenting what you do over time. So a couple of weeks, you'll go in and do an informal evaluation. You might go in and actually model for them, how to do attention, 1, 2, 3, or, whatever strategy it is you're doing. And then in that implement section, this is where you are really collecting your artifacts. You have to have 6 to 9 artifacts for your portfolio, and they align with relationship building, coaching and support, and monitoring progress. They have to be labeled as such. The last piece is evaluate. So you go in and you observe them again, and you're looking at just that one component of the rubric you guys were focusing on. Share your results with the mentee, and then the mentee reflects and you reflect. Okay, so let me show you what this actually looks like. We're going to go to our, we're going to go and notice what it looks like here. It's set up. The modules are analyze, classroom management, develop, classroom management, implement. Each one of these is a week. So remember, I showed you that calendar. Each one of these, there's a week dedicated to it. You might need a little more time for some, a little less for others, but you are allotted at least a week. For each one of these, there is a sample. So in the overview section, and actually there's a couple of samples provided throughout the course for you of what this looks like. It is all in one document. So I recommend that you just keep that document going. So this is the mentoring to improve classroom management. This is the analyze section, and it walks you through what you need to be setting up for this. And don't worry, every single module, I tell you what you need to be putting in here. I walk you through it. Have to have a SMART goal, have to have the alignment to data. This is the coaching plan. There's a template provided, and you simply copy and paste the template. Please do not screenshot it. That's not effective at all. I usually can't see them. There's a timeline, a projected timeline, which your timeline needs to be about a month, 3 to 4 weeks. And now here's the implement section, and here are your artifacts. And we walk you through how to set up your artifacts. Notice they're labeled relationship building. So it's all here for you, this full sample. And the sample provides you ideas for content that you could include in your portfolio, as well as language and timeline and things like that. And then the last section is the evaluate section. Here's the mentee reflection and the mentor reflection. Once again, every single module, I'm walking you through each step of, what you're putting in each one of these. And I have resources and things to guide you. We just want to show you the sample up front so that you know what it looks like. I love samples, so I know you guys do as well. Okay. So again, we already talked about how you must select aspects, or actually one aspect, one indicator of the LER classroom management portion for the classroom management portfolio. In week 6, you upload a rough draft of your portfolio, again, in one document, just like I showed you for the sample, to a peer review forum. It's so helpful. And then in week 7, you take comments that your peers have given you and ideas that you've gotten from looking at their portfolios. You revise it, you add in any pieces that were missing, and you upload it for a final revision in week 7. It takes me approximately 2 weeks to score them. Okay. The next portfolio is exactly the same. So I'm not going to waste our time reading through this. It is the exact same setup. It simply pertains to content instruction. So now we're getting into, if you're looking at the LAER rubric, assessment, standards and objectives, presenting instructional content, activities and materials, questioning, academic feedback. We could have done teacher knowledge of students for classroom management as well. Sorry, I missed that one on number 8. That's probably one that can go kind of either way. Thinking and problem solving. Okay, and if we look over here in the LER, we're really looking at that instruction domain. All of the indicators under the instruction domain. That's what we're looking at for that one. Okay, so again, exactly the same format. You've got the 4-part, which, sorry, it says assess on this one too. Let me change it real quick. And this it's the same format as what you did for the classroom management one, but you're doing it for a content instruction one. And the point of this is we do know LDOE, obviously it's research-based, but these are the 2 main areas that our novice teachers need support with. And so that's why you demonstrate your skill and proficiency in both classroom management and content instruction. All right, so let's go to field experience hours. 25 hours are required. You document all of your activities for both portfolios. The activities that we're requiring you to do actually support the requirements. They're aligned with the requirements for the Educational Leader Alternate Pathway. So those of you who are trying to add those 240 clock hours onto your certificate, these 25 hours can count for that as well. In Module 15, all of that information is presented for you. It's recommended that you keep track of your hours as you move through the course. And if you look on the home area, there's a log sheet and a video that I kind of walk you through it, how to do it at the very beginning of the course. And then at the very end, when you submit in week 15, it's provided for you there again with some more details about how to link it to the educational leadership pathway. So now let's talk about the certification process. McNeese is an LDOE approved mentor teacher assessor. This means that you are receiving the training in our course, and then we also can use that final version of your portfolio to certify as passing for the mentor teacher certification. So your fee for the course includes the scoring fee. 1 revision per portfolio is included. What this means is if your district is paying for you to take the course, you do not have to submit it to an external body, a different assessor. We used to use Bloomboard for this. We no longer use Bloomboard. It's all done here in-house, and you do not have to pay an additional fee to go somewhere else and submit the portfolio. We do have 1 revision per portfolio is included in the fee. This means that if you do not pass on the second attempt, that completely, what that means is if your district is paying for it, beyond that, you will have to pay yourself. I don't know of any district that pays for 3rd, 4th, 5th revisions. So please keep that in mind when you are doing the work. It's important that you pay very careful attention to what you're submitting, what you're turning in. To receive your mentor teacher certificate, you need to receive a passing score on both portfolios. So at least 75% proficiency with no major errors. You have to submit your field hours and you have to complete the course with fidelity. There are minimal other assignments required in the course. So your portfolios are the bulk of what you have to do. Again, you're not required to attend the Zooms. They're just provided for your support, but you do need to be able to navigate it by the due dates. It takes 2 weeks to score portfolios. So if you have to do a resubmission, that is going to cause delays. So for example, those of you taking in the fall, if you're taking a fall and you're wanting to, receive your certification to be able to get your stipend or whatever for the spring, you need to make sure you're on top of things then, because if it's a resubmission, we do not score, we do not process over our winter break. So please keep that in mind, that those, when the university closes, we close as well. So that's not going to be picked up until you come back in the spring. So please keep that in mind. Same thing for like if you're taking it in the spring semester. If you're trying to, get things wrapped up to get your stipend or whatever by the summer, please keep in mind that it might not, if resubmissions will cause delays. I'll just kind of leave it like that, because I know sometimes that might be frustrating for you when you're like, oh, I turned it in, but it's kind of the same thing that we do to our students do to us. Sometimes they're like, hurry, I'm turning this in late, and I know it's a resubmission, but please hurry up and get it turned over quickly so I can get my stipend money. It's that it will cause delays. So please just keep that in mind. Be very mindful of what you're turning in the very first go around. It takes approximately 2 to 4 business weeks. Remember that university's timeline is, different. We have closure dates. We have semester dates where we are closed. So please keep that in mind. To process the certificates, and we notify you and your district in an email with your certificate, which can then be added to your license. And your district personnel, human resources personnel, they actually have some processes that they use with the state, with LDOE, to streamline this process for you. If you're doing this as an individual, all of the materials are provided on LDOE, which show you how to take the certificate that we give you, present it to LDOE, and add it to your certificate. It does take typically 4 to 6 weeks for LDOE to process it and put it on your certificate. So please just keep that in mind as well. I hope that this has been helpful for you. Please reach out if you have any questions at all as you move through the course. Please note that if any way at all my tone has seemed snippy or short or anything clipped at all, I don't mean for it to be in any way, shape, form, or fashion. My ultimate goal is for you to avoid any unnecessary pitfalls in this process. As an effective teacher in the field, I know that you know how important it is for these critical pieces: time management, organization, documentation. Sometimes in the busyness of doing our own work, when we are having to become students and mentors ourselves, it's a lot to juggle. And I understand that it is. I've worked really hard on the Canvas to provide a lot of resources for you to support the process. And I've also provided samples, videos. And so I'm trying to provide you with robust support. And I hope that that comes through ultimately. Please make sure that you're using those resources, that you're using the samples to guide your content and your formatting. And please don't hesitate to email me. I know that's probably the best way for us to communicate with your busy schedules and my teaching schedule as well. Lori Benoit, so it's lbenoit11@mcneese.edu. Of course, you can message me through Canvas as well. If you have any questions, if you have any concerns, please don't hesitate to reach out early. One of the things that I do want to mention is that it does become very difficult when we are getting close to those holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas, whether we're getting into spring break or testing. So just keep that in mind as you're trying to wrap up the course and stay on task. Okay, I'm going to let you go. Thanks so much. Bye bye.